Wow, guys, does it look like we're in Gotham right now? Wow, I'm actually here. You know, I like Batman a lot. One of my favorite things about Batman is the amount of villains that surround him. And I can't remember where I was the other day, but I saved it. I found an iceberg for all the Batman villains, which there are a lot of, and so many of these I don't even know. So I thought that it would be kind of fun to go through them and then also rank them on a tier list because there are really good ones in here, but there are also some really strange ones. And for this, in my description of each of these villains, this is going to be kind of like the standard story that you'll see in some. Now, details might change depending on what you're seeing this in, but like if you boiled everything down about this character, this is generally true no matter what kind of piece of media this would come across in. So just keep that in mind. Like, I'm not gonna stick to a certain canon or anything like that. This is just the overall generic story. So going through the first tier here, I probably won't be able to get through all these. I'm gonna break this up. We're gonna start at the tip of the iceberg and work our way down, and I'll probably do this in a lot of multiple parts because there's a lot of things that I need to look at and a lot of things I gotta do to get to each one. But starting with this first tier is probably the most popular villains. So I probably won't spend as long with these because if you're familiar at all with Batman, you know most of these characters easily. But yeah, starting out, we're gonna start out with the man himself.
Well, I'm the Joker, baby!
The Joker is one of Batman's most iconic and chaotic villains, known for a sadistic sense of humor and unpredictability. His origins are shrouded in mystery, with various stories suggesting he's a failed comedian or a criminal who fell into a vat of chemicals, transforming him into the maniacal figure with a clown-like appearance. Obsessed with creating chaos and challenging Batman, the Joker embodies anarchy and madness, often using psychological manipulation and violence to undermine the Dark Knight and Gotham City itself. Obviously, in some ways, the Joker is just as popular as Batman is. He is the complete antithesis, and yet they need each other to exist. I was gonna say there's not many bad interpretations of Joker, but we all know that's not true. But I think we can generally agree, like, if any villain is gonna be an S tier on this list, it's gonna be the Joker. He is the definition of an S tier for this list, and I don't think anybody would disagree with that. Next up, we have Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn, originally Dr. Harleen Quinzel, is a former psychiatrist who becomes the Joker's devoted partner and accomplice after falling in love with him during her treatment of him in Arkham Asylum. Her transformation from a respected doctor to a colorful and chaotic criminal reflects her deep-seated need for acceptance and love, which she finds in the Joker despite his abusive behavior, because she's become very popular. To me, though, her story is cool. The fact that the Joker manipulated her psychologically to basically break him out of Arkham, it is showing you the depths to which he'll go to get what he wants. But I don't think that she's on the same level as Joker, but I'm gonna put her in A tier. Next, we have the Iceman himself, Mr. Freeze. Also known as Victor Freeze, is a tragic Batman villain whose life was forever changed after an accident in his cryogenic lab, which left him with the ability to manipulate ice and cold temperatures. Driven by a desperate quest to find a cure for his terminally ill wife Nora, Freeze resorts to a life of crime to fund his research, often clashing with Batman in the process. His heartbreaking story and motivations create a sympathetic figure as he battles against time and his own cold-hearted nature in pursuit of love and redemption. The backstory of Freeze, I think, makes up for a more, I don't want to say generic look, but he definitely is one of those villains, kind of like Croc, and a few others on this list that are easily sympathized with. I just don't think he's been done justice in live action at all yet. My favorite appearance of him is definitely in the Arkham games, but I'm gonna put him in A tier with Harley. Yeah, A tier sounds good. I think he's definitely an A tier character. I'm gonna be pretty tough with these guys. You're definitely gonna be able to tell my favorites, but we're gonna move right along to Catwoman. Catwoman, or Selina Kyle, is a complex character who operates on the edge of morality as a skilled thief, an occasional ally to Batman. Ally is a strong word. With a tumultuous past marked by survival and independence, she embodies both seduction and strength, often using her charm to manipulate others while navigating her own struggles. Her relationship with Batman is multifaceted, marked by romantic tension and rivalry, as she seeks to balance her criminal instincts with her desire for a more meaningful life. To me, I don't think you can tell a Batman story without having Catwoman present in some way. Out of all the female villains in Batman, Catwoman will show up pretty much every single time. And I think her struggle with trying to be good or not is very important towards the development of a Batman character, no matter which setting you put him in. So for that reason, I'm going to put Catwoman in the S tier. Moving on to Bane. Bane is a powerful adversary, known for his immense strength and intelligence, amplified by the venom substance that enhances his physical capabilities. Born and raised in the harsh confines of prison, he became a product of his environment, shaping him into a formidable fighter and strategist. Bane is best known for his role in breaking Batman, both physically and mentally, as he seeks to prove himself as a worthy opponent, showcasing themes of strength, pain, and the desire for dominance. Probably the most popular version of Bane is Tom Hardy's Bane in the Nolan series, and I appreciate that they do the thing where he breaks Batman's back. That's kind of his signature move, is breaking someone's back, which, if you were to think about somebody, a human being, now he is roided up, let's be clear, but any human being that could pick up someone else and break their back over their knee, I think that's a pretty formidable foe, if I'm gonna say so myself. So I think he has a lot of depth and he can go a lot of ways. So I'm gonna put him at S tier as well. Moving on to the Riddler. Edward Nygma is characterized by his obsession with puzzles, riddles, and intellectual challenges. He often commits crimes that involve intricate clues, forcing Batman to solve riddles to stop him. The Riddler's need to prove his intellectual superiority drives his conflict with the Dark Knight. Now, I don't want people to be mad at me, but the Riddler is kind of lame, and I think that's part of his characterization, is that he's just so goofy. I think it's just because I see Jim Carrey a lot in my head when I think of the Riddler, and that's not a dangerous guy. So this is gonna be a controversial take, I think, but I think I'm gonna put Riddler in B tier. Moving on, the Penguin, or Oswald Cobblepot. Grew up in a wealthy but harsh family, often bullied for his short stature and odd appearance. After being shunned by society and his own family, he turned to crime, using his smarts and ambition to rise through Gotham's criminal ranks. Now he runs the Iceberg Lounge as a front for his illegal operations, mixing his love for birds with a desire for power and revenge, doing the Iceberg video with the owner of the Iceberg Lounge. I'm not going to talk that much about Penguin. I really want to see the show. I just don't want to pay for a max subscription to watch it. I've heard it's very good. I think having a extremely popular villain that's more on the human side compared to some of these people is very necessary for the Batman world. I think that his desire to accumulate wealth and shiny things, and you juxtapose that with his background of never feeling good enough, makes him a very dimensional villain, I think. I still think he is an A tier. I don't think he's quite S. And I'm telling you guys, I'm grading hard here. Next up, we have Two-Face, formerly known as Harvey Dent. Was once Gotham City's district attorney and close ally of Bruce and Batman, dedicated to fighting crime. Depending on what story you see, he gets some sort of accident where he has horrible scarring on half of his body, where then he develops a split personality with his good side battling against a darker, vengeful nature. As Two-Face, he bases his actions on chance, flipping a coin to decide between justice and chaos, making him very tragic and unpredictable. Two-Face is so cool, dude. I think Two-Face is the guy. I think he is the GOAT. To me, he's an easy S tier. Such a cool character. His nature being completely reflective in his appearance. I also think it adds another dimension to kind of a scariness about him, is like, could you live or die dependent on the coin flip? It's a 50-50 chance, Easy S tier to me. I'm moving on to Killer Croc, aka Waylon Jones. Suffers from a rare genetic condition that gives him reptilian features, tough skin, and an immense strength. Abused and ostracized for his appearance, he turned to a life of crime, using his brutal power to survive in Gotham's criminal underworld. Despite his monstrous form, Killer Croc's humanity sometimes shows through, making him complex and quite tragic. There's a a few different ways to look at Killer Croc. Sometimes he's just used as muscle. Sometimes he has a very complex and sad backstory, not judging a person based by what you see on the surface. However, he is also extremely scary in some versions. That is a scary thing. Imagine being lost if you somehow find yourself in the situation in Gotham sewers and you just see this at the end of the hall. Yeah, I don't think that would be a good time for anyone. He is another easy S tier for me. The Mad Hatter, or Jervis Tetch, is a villain in Gotham City is obsessed with Lewis Carroll's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. A former neuroscientist, Tetch developed mind control technology, using it to manipulate others for his twisted Wonderland-inspired schemes. His obsession with controlling people's minds, often driven by feelings of rejection and loneliness, make him very dangerous and unpredictable. Mad Hatter kind of falls in the same vein to me as the Riddler. Now, I think it can be cool when it's done right. However, he just is kind of goofy to me. He's just kind of goofy. He's got the mind of a child in most cases. So, he is going to be a little silly. But, I mean, just like, come on, man. Look at this guy. This is not an S or A tier. He's going with the Riddler and B. It feels wrong to put Hatter and Riddler on the same level, so Hatter is gonna be the first C, to be honest. I'm putting him at C. Ra's al Ghul is a formidable Batman villain and leader of the League of Assassins, known for his immortality achieved through the use of Lazarus pits. Born centuries ago, he witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, which shaped his belief that humanity must be cleansed to create a better world. His long-standing feud with Batman stems from their conflicting ideologies, as Ra's believes in enforcing drastic measures to eliminate the corrupt and restore balance in the world, while Batman champions the value of human life and seeks to protect Gotham without resorting to violence. Ra's, I know I'm gonna say it different ways. I'm just gonna stick with Ra's from now on. I'm not gonna explain myself. Ra's is a B tier villain. Ra's is seen on the level as Joker, I would argue, in a lot of cases in terms of his impact on Batman. But I don't know, I feel like I'm just kind of worn out of seeing him. I feel like he's in everything, but you don't get that same worn out feeling when you see the Joker. So I think there are better villains that will be further down this list that have the opposite view as Batman, but are a little bit more cool. And, I don't really have to explain what cool means because it's my video, but, they're just more cool. So Ra's B. Next up, we go to Ra's daughter, Talia al Ghul. Deeply influenced by her father's ideals and the mission of League of Assassins, she's raised in a world of ancient mysticism and trained in combat, where she possesses a strong sense of loyalty to her father and desire to fill his vision of purging the world of its corruption. However, Talia also has a deep connection to Batman, torn between her love for him and her commitment to her father's ruthless ideology of creating a better world through radical means. There are so many love interests for Batman. It kind of makes me, the playboy persona that Bruce puts off is not really something he puts off. That's actually him, I think, and that comes through. I think Talia is cooler than Ra's, and I don't know if that's that crazy to say, but at least she has been around to be around someone like Ra's who has had their ideology shaped over centuries, whereas she is in a similar position, however, has dimensions of doubt, which makes her a little bit more of an interesting character and has a little bit more depth to her. So I'm putting her at A. Next up is Scarecrow, also known as Dr. Jonathan Crane, who specializes in fear, using his knowledge of psychology and fear toxins to exploit the phobias of his victims. Once a professor of psychology, he was bullied and ridiculed in his youth, which fueled his obsession with fear and desire for revenge against those who have wronged him. Through his twisted experiments, he aims to still instill terror in Gotham City, believing that confronting fear is essential for one true strength, while he seeks to prove his superiority over Batman and everyone else he perceives as weak. Scarecrow is so cool, dude. Well, Elijah Wood just voiced him in the new Batman VR game. Did a very good job there. I think Scarecrow's use of fear is obviously what makes him so unique and stands him out against so many other villains. And it's something, his look in a lot of series as well. His character design can be so cool. and I hope to see him again soon in some sort of live action appearance because his Arkham appearance is so good, so great. S tier to me. Poison Ivy, also known as Dr. Pamela Isley, is a Batman villainess, an eco-terrorist who possesses the ability to control plants and produce deadly toxins. Once a dedicated botanist, she was transformed into a criminal after being experimented on, leading her to develop a deep hatred for humanity and desire to protect the natural world at any cost. Ivy believes that the only way to save the environment is to eliminate those who harm it, often clashing with Batman, as she uses her powers to fight against pollution and exploitation while seeking to create a world where plants reign supreme over mankind. There's a lot of politicians these days that are kind of like Poison Ivy. However, she does have a main theme with her story is a sort of redemption arc. It's not the case in all of them. I'm running out of time, so I need to place her. She's going in B tier. Poison Ivy in B tier. Jason Todd, originally introduced as the second Robin after Dick Grayson, was brutally murdered by the Joker, but he was resurrected through the use of the Lazarus Pit, which left him with a deep sense of anger and betrayal towards Batman for not saving him. Now operating as the anti-hero, Red Hood, Jason struggles with his past, seeking vengeance against those he believes deserve punishment, while often clashing with Batman's moral code, reflecting a darker and more violent approach to justice. I think Jason Todd is the epitome of impactful antithesis to Batman's ideology, and also a ghost from his past that will haunt him for, in any case. I think most people will probably agree that Jason is a S tier. Next up is Clayface. This is the Basil Karlo version, who possesses the ability to shapeshift and alter his appearance due to a transformation involving a special clay-like substance. Once a talented actor, Basil became disillusioned with the entertainment industry after facing rejection, leading him to a life of crime where he uses his powers to impersonate others and commit elaborate heists. Struggling with his identity and the loss of his former self, Clayface often battles with his humanity while seeking revenge against those he feels have wronged him, making him another tragic figure in Gotham's rogue gallery. Now it's been a while since I've looked into the two different Clayfaces and looking into the differences of those two. I always think of Clayface from the Lego Batman games on the DS, and I really liked Clayface in those games, and for pretty much no other reason. I'm gonna put him in B tier. Next up we have Hush, whose real name is Thomas Elliot, a cunning Batman villain and childhood friend of Bruce Wayne, harboring a deep-seated resentment and jealousy toward him for perceived betrayals. A brilliant surgeon with a knack for manipulation, Elliot becomes obsessed with destroying Batman, crafting an elaborate scheme that involves using the identities of other villains to execute his plans. Fueled by a desire for vengeance and a twisted view of friendship, Hush seeks to reveal Batman's secrets and dismantle his life, representing a dark reflection of Bruce's own past and the consequences of their intertwined histories. Speaking of Lego Batman, I'm pretty sure he was like a secret character in that game, and I was always so intrigued by who he was because I had never heard of him before being that young. He's a villain that is influenced both by Bruce and Batman. I would say you don't get many of those, but there are definitely plenty of those. But he's kind of the pinnacle besides maybe Jason. I'm gonna put Hush at A. I feel like that's a good spot for him. I feel like he's a solid A. And I don't know why this is in the Iceberg at this high of a level, but we have Kite Man, whose real name is Charles Brown, named after Charlie Brown, by the way. He's a lesser-known Batman villain known for his obsession with kites and his comedic, often inept criminal endeavors. Despite his goofy persona and silly kite-themed gadget, he has a tragic backstory, having faced rejection and ridicule throughout his life, which fueled his desire to prove himself as a criminal mastermind. Over time, Kite Man's character has evolved from a mere joke in Gotham's rogue gallery to a more complex figure, grappling with his identity and aspirations while often clashing with both heroes and villains alike. I know there's a new show, not new, it came out a little while ago, but a show that's basically focused around him. There's some new comics in the Rebirth that give him a very tragic backstory where he basically gets caught in the crossfire between Joker and Riddler, and his son dies, and it's you should look it up. I'm not gonna go into it right now for the sake of time. However, I don't know why he's this high on the Iceberg, and I also just don't find him super interesting. He's going to join the Hatter in C tier, and I feel like that's generous. I think that's all I'm going to do for now. I'm going to move on to the next tier in a later video. But as far as main villains go, I'm going to take a look at the list and see if I want to move anything around. I feel like people are going to be not super happy with some of these placements, but it's my list, and I'm going to stick to it. Except I'm going to make Bane an A tier. Yep. That's it. All right. We'll move on to the next layer of the iceberg in a later date. That's it. That is the video.